So Michigan, the healthcare system saved my son's life, and that's the reason, the tipping point for why I got in. We're coming up on August, and when August came around last summer, Mark Schauer was hiding because he was afraid of you. He was afraid that you might yell at him or say that you disagreed with how he was going to vote. And I'll tell you, it's cowardly, and it has a contempt for you and an arrogance that they have down in D.C. that we don't need to listen to you because we have the power. That really set me off. You know, as a congressman, I believe that you have the duty to stand and deliver, or sometimes you have the duty to stand in the receipt. And if you're not willing to do that, then get out of the way, because the people are in charge, not you. I say we have the best specialized health care in the world right here in Michigan. I know because of my children's hospital, living there for months on end, we had people coming not just all over the country, all over the world to save their children's lives with various different problems. And that's because they don't do it in other parts of the world. We do it here in Michigan because we have people like Dr. Beauvais who can operate on a heart that big and do it well and save children's lives. You know, that was what I was concerned about when Mark Schauer goes around and tells everybody, oh, your Medicare benefits won't be affected at all. It reminds me a lot of what I remember in the military is you may rate something, but whether you ever get it is another story. You may rate the Medicare benefit, but whether you ever get it, that's a totally different story. And seniors have a right to be concerned because this bill ultimately shifts costs from the insurer to the provider. What's the provider going to do when they have a lot of bills coming due? They're going to start rationing care, and that's just reality, human nature. That's what businesses do. And they're going to start at the spectrums where it costs the most: senior care and neonatal care, where I am. So people have a right to be concerned. When I was in the military, I found out later that I had a degenerative disc in my neck. And I only say that not for sympathy, but to prove a point. I never got in line for the one MRI machine we had at the time at Balboa Naval Hospital because my doctor told me, many primary doctors I had, for my 15 minutes of sick call that I get, and I can see the future because I see it in the military. And by the way, they have a good system there because we also have a lot of healthy young men and women. We don't have people that get old over time like is what happened in the natural way of things. But because there was one machine there, you had a year-long wait. They didn't want to put me in that year-long wait because I could tolerate my pain with vitamin and 800 milligram Motrin. And guess what our president said when the whole healthcare debate kicked off and he was talking about knee replacements and hip replacements? Well, maybe that 70-year-old can tolerate that pain with vitamin M too. I'm not for that.
So what would you do? Would you repeal and reform, or what would you do?
I've signed the repeal and replace it pledge as well. I'm not naive to think that we can get it done until President Obama is gone, but we have time because the bill is not fully implemented until 2014. And once we get a new president, we can get a patient-centered healthcare bill that Republicans have talked about in the past. Where, another example, Michigan traditionally has allowed Blue Cross Blue Shield pre-existing condition coverage. One of the few states that do that. Pre-existing conditions is something that most Americans agree should be fixed. Insurers should not be allowed to say you can't get it. If I don't win this race and I go out and try to find a job, most employers, if I wasn't in Michigan, would tell me, you have a son with a pre-existing condition, we're not giving you health care. That's wrong, I believe. But I believe that we can get most Americans to agree on how to fix that on a bullet-by-bullet approach and then move on to the next problem and then come out and see how you can fix that instead of the shotgun approach that Mark Schauer used to say, let's fix all these problems at once and trust us, we're the government, we can do it.
We go flush out. All right, thank you. Before I get to Marvin, I want to just second what you said. I have a nephew, a West Point Academy graduate, who is in the Middle East right now, who said, when I said, well, do you go and get health care? He's like, no. It takes forever to get in the wait line. So I know what you're talking about, Brian. Marvin, thank you.
Well, you know, you mentioned Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, by the way. Well, with those three programs, we're looking at $100 trillion unfunded mandate over the next 20 years. Young people in this country are not thinking that they're ever going to be eligible and have money available for them when they retire through the current Social Security system. We have a mechanism, for example, in Medicare, to begin to reform the system. We have health savings accounts. Bush was effective, maybe he was involved in actual making sure that we had that available to us. Health savings accounts, if we put people back in charge of their own health expenses, because individuals then, rather than putting money in terms of payroll deduction, will take the same amount of money, have the tax deduction, put it in health savings accounts, and then be responsible for their own health care. Now, that, of course, requires additional catastrophic coverage, a very inexpensive insurance package, which basically tops out that plan. But that provides what it does is puts people back in charge of their own health care. I think that's where we need to be. We can't depend on government because the money simply is not there long term. And we have to begin to take make some serious efforts to change the system so that it actually is viable over long term. And health savings accounts with respect to Medicare is the way to go.
Thank you, Marvin. I have a million questions, but it's getting late. I want to take we're going to ask you one last question. It'll be fast. Then we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and get questions from you, the audience. And that question is this. If you win the primary and you win against Congressman Mark Schauer, will you this fall join Michelle Bachmann's Tea Party caucus that they just created the other day? Tim?
I told Michelle that as soon as I arrived here, I would sign.
Sign the Tea Party caucus. Brian?
Sure.
Yes? And Marvin?
Count me in.
Got you. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll take a 5-minute break.